I built Cloud City in just under 2 hours. Yesterday, I was really bummed that we didn't get an update, which is fine. We don't have to have them every week, but I just wanted to build something cool. So I decided, why not build Cloud City? Star Wars is one of my favorite movies ever, and Cloud City is just iconic. So I built this in about an hour and a half, and I want to show you today exactly how I did that. And I'm going to go in depth into an advanced trick that I've used in so many of my maps, what I deem as the circle trick. So first I'm gonna go ahead and explain exactly how I do that, and then I'm gonna show you some more advanced tricks as I build out the entire city. So let's go, guys. This one turned out good. Okay, first I want to explain exactly how to do the circle trick. So you're gonna need to grab a wall, a prop, a floor, or whatever. In this case, I'm gonna use a floor piece because I do use this in this actual build. And then I'm gonna flip it up on its side because I want it to be like a big circle. So now one thing I like to do is I could either use the grid. So right, you can see right here, I lined it up exactly on the grid lines, or you can use the ring galleries, which is what I used for Cloud City. But for right now, I'm just gonna use the grid lines to kind of show you how this works. So I'm gonna place my second piece right over here on the grid line 4 away. And the reason I use it 4 away is because I want like a nice round circle. And I've been doing this enough right now to know that 4 away is gonna be exactly what I need to get that circle with just like a normal floor piece like this. As you practice this, you'll start to know what size of like wall or prop you need to get the circle you want. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna select both pieces. So now what's happened here is that these pieces are now anchored to each other. So when I copy it, you see they're floating around wherever I place them, the other one places too. They're kind of like stuck together, and that's what makes the circle trick work. You have to have them anchored together. So once again, we'll select these 2 pieces. If you don't know what select is, you can look right above my head right here. You'll see here that on R is where the select button is for me. It might be different for you if you're on controller or mobile. But for me, I pressed R to select those, and then I'm gonna left click to copy, and then I'm gonna stand in the middle of them. Now let me show you what happens when I don't stand in the middle of them. So I can copy this. You see it comes out and it's like not in the right placement of where I want my circle. Versus when I stand in the middle of them, it stays where I've put my original pieces. So then I can just rotate it on the yaw, and it just slowly makes a circle going around, right? So I'm just placing it as I go. And now we've got this nice circle. Now you can even see here, I kind of messed up a little bit because the piece was actually just a little bit too big, so it's not a perfect circle. So I would have to adjust that a little bit. And that's one of the reasons why I like to use the ring galleries, because it makes the setup even easier to make sure I get the right perfect circle where these are connecting just right. But maybe for my circle, I wanted a little character on it. I don't know. But that's the basics of the circle trick. And I'm gonna show you a few more tricks in the actual Cloud City build, but that is a very powerful trick. And guys, I've used this on so many maps. Almost every map I make, I use it at least once. And in some maps like this one, it is basically the entire build is using that trick just over and over again. Okay, let's jump into the actual build of the city now. The first thing I wanted to do in this build was really get my lighting setup to be just perfect. I wanted it to look similar to this picture with the rising sun in the background. So I set my time of day to 4 a.m., the light brightness to 70, and the fog thickness to 20. And that pretty much got it to where I wanted it to be. Then I was searching for the right pieces that would make up the city. I looked around in the Fortnite galleries for a little while, but then I realized the best piece for this was going to be the piece that's found in the bridge gallery right here. Now that I found the core piece that was going to be the base of my build, it was time to set up my outlines of the city. This is a huge part of building any map, is really planning out ahead of time what you're going to do. So as you can see here, I'm basically outlining the city with the different sizes of the rings. This is going to help me so much, particularly using the circle trick. Now it's time to really do my first circle. You can see here I have the vertical ring, which is the center of my other circle. And what I'm trying to do is really set up my 2 anchor pieces perfectly so then I can easily make the circle. And it turned out just perfect. The setup for the next section was a little bit more difficult because it was just bigger. And I did add a little bit of a curve to these, so it just had a little bit more character. But once I got my 2 sinkers set up, I did one thing that was just a little bit different on this because of the size of the circle. So I'm gonna do a partial circle trick here where I just do 4 or 5 right next to each other. If I try to do a full 360 with this, there's gonna be holes in my build. So once I've done this small section, then I do the circle trick with that, and it easily fills in this giant circle. You have to do that with these big circles to avoid having giant gaps in your build. For the next step, I used that wall piece that I showed you earlier and did the same trick where I'm building a bigger section and then copying and pasting that around. Now, one mistake I did with this is I forgot to put lights on this, so I had to do the circle trick again with lights to make it look more like a city. Then it's repeating that circle trick for the next section down, and we're pretty much done with the top half. The bottom half of the city starts with another flat layer, but this time I made sure to have the lights on the first time, so that made this go way faster. I did the next layer on the bottom half like I was on the top, but then I realized I could probably do this all with one circle trick. So I did have to build this out a little bit more because it is such a big space to fill in. Once I had my 2 anchor sides set up, it was really easy to just finish this off. And dang, guys, this was looking good. Next, I built the part of the city that pokes out of the top, and this was just finding a few random props that kind of looked like buildings from far away. And while I only spent like 2 or 3 minutes on this, I think it turned out pretty good. The final step was just using the meteor tail to put the clouds around the city, and dang, guys, dang. Very happy with this build, very happy.